Todos los derechos reservados.
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching NowMedia Television.
Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, investor, entrepreneur, and business strategist. And I'm here because I believe that iron sharpens iron. When we come together and we share what's working in business and maybe even what's not, we're able to all learn, grow, and elevate our game. And the ripple effect impacts not only our businesses, our teams, our families, and our lives, but also our communities and our world. I'm really excited to be here in studio today with two of my favorite people, entrepreneurs and investors. And we are going to talk about all things business. So get ready, buckle up, here we go. I have to my right, Miss Christina Irizarry. Welcome to the studio, Christina.
Thank you for having me.
Christina is a rock star in the real estate space, and so we'll be hearing a little bit more from her shortly. And we also have Joe Irizarry. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you, Jen. Pleasure to be here again.
And so let's just dive in. Yes, Christina and Joe are definitely married.
Yes, we are.
And they're both powerful entrepreneurs and investors. So I know that this question comes up a lot. How is it that you are able to still maintain a powerful marriage, have all that communication and separate it from the business? Because Joe, you have a business and then you both are in business together. So how does that dynamic work and how are you able to separate the life and the relationship side from the business?
I think a big part of it is there's a level of separation in the sense that you need to know how to still enjoy life together. But I think that the biggest part of it is that while there's certain times, maybe on vacation or whatever, it's actually not so much separation. It's more about working with each other as a team together, and it's us versus the world, regardless of what's going on, whether it's a personal issue or it's a business issue. It's us against the world. So establishing that, I think, early on is one of the big things that's been very helpful for us. And number two is in the business together, we establish roles and responsibilities, just like you would with an employee or with another peer if you're in kind of the more corporate world. You're going to establish kind of roles and responsibilities, and you're going to say, this is what you do, this is what I do, as much as possible. I mean, entrepreneurs, we wear lots of hats, so some things are going to be outside your comfort zone. But generally speaking, you're going to want to say, this is where your strengths are and or the areas that you want to become, that you're passionate about, and then mine. And then we're going to hold each other accountable, but we're going to do so in a loving way, because it's so easy when you spend so much time with someone to let that professionalism drift away. But you can't do that, because business is business and relationships and people. And in the same way you wouldn't do that with an employee, with a vendor, you still have to treat that way with your spouse.
Absolutely. Christina, how about you?
Actually, it was pretty hard for me, because I'm like, every time we will get a little argument, we would say something, but it wasn't really an argument. I would take it all very hard. I was like, why he's yelling at me or something. So it took me a while, and finally we established that this is what I do during the day, this is what you do during the day. So we actually have like two separate offices. I do the real estate, and then he does his software during the day. So it's one of those things when we divided the responsibility, and I think that's what made us actually easier to don't get that friction, don't get that arguments. And if we do have something that we need to resolve, normally I used to just jump in his office, and he's like, Christina, I'm busy. And then when I find okay, he is busy, he's focused, so I can't really just jump in. Doesn't matter, we work together. So when we establish that in evenings, maybe over dinner, depends what is the time and stuff, and we will actually have that discussion.
I love it. And so I have to ask, who decided the roles and responsibilities? Was that an equally yoked situation, or was that like a dictation from Joe to Christina or Christina to Joe?
No, I think this actually came naturally, because at my past jobs, like I'm one of those people who can't really just stay still. Like I can't sit at the desk in an office all day. It's just not me. That's just not my thing. And so when we started doing real estate, I just took the part of like managing the constructions, finding the property, since I always in and out. And then Joe took the responsibility of doing more like the business part of it, like the offers, the bookkeeping, anything that is more natural for him. Plus, if he does his other business and he has to be in a meeting with stuff, so it's not he can just drop everything and just drive to the project and take a look at the project. So that's how, I think it just naturally just got, okay, this is what you do, this is what I do.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And what's funny is the way that you might perceive something can be different the way someone else might perceive it. So I think it's important, even with something as simple like the question that Jen asked. In this case, Christine and I are 100% on the same page about how that happened. But oftentimes, that's not the case, right? One might perceive it one way and one might perceive it another way. So the example that Christina gave was, I'm coming because this is important or it's critical, or I want to keep things moving forward because time is always of the essence, especially in a construction project. On the flip side, the prioritize, or the way it was perceived to me was, goodness, she just doesn't respect my time. She doesn't respect that I've got a whole nother business I'm running and so on. And it's not that I don't appreciate or see the urgency in it. It's just at the end of the day, is it going to make a difference if I do it now or if we do it later? And so having the awareness and having the ability to have that discussion openly, and then the other element of it is the roles and the things that we naturally do. In some cases are going to conflict, in other cases they're going to work well together. But you have to approach those in a very non-threatening, open-minded way.
You know, what comes to mind for me, because you have your business, Joe, and then you and Christina have a business together. And so naturally you have yourself pulled in two different, very different roles, right? Two very different directions. How is it that you are able to empower one another to make decisions without having to have that in the middle of the day interruption? Do you trust each other implicitly on all decisions, or is there a decision matrix that you as a couple, and this applies to anyone who has a business partner, what is the decision-making process? Because it's not efficient and effective for both partners to have to be involved in every single decision. Like, what is that decision matrix? What does the level look like so that you guys can both move powerfully forward always?
How would you answer that, Christina?
I think we have like the level of which decision I know I can make without. I mean, I could probably give you a little example. Like, say, if we're putting an offer on a property, I always do the numbers, so I know what is the rehab, what is that. So if I have a 7-day inspection on a contract, it doesn't matter how much is the offer, because I still have 7 days to change my mind. So I don't have to tell him, hey, do you think this is what we should put it offer? This is what we need. No, I just go with whatever my gut feeling says, this is how much we should pay for the property, because we still have 7 days. 7 days can change a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 100% right, and that's actually the example that I was going to give as well, because we didn't start off that way, right? We didn't start off saying, you do this, I do this, and then we're just going to make, it was from the perspective of kind of mitigating risk. That's our personality types, was to say, well, whenever we get to a decision, let's talk about it. And so that was actually, in some ways, I was actually hurting myself in some ways with that, not realizing it, and then we grew, but it was still helpful because we got a chance to learn. It was a new business as well. But I think it's critical to understand what is life altering if we get it wrong, or is this really a decision that we can change, or the consequences are so small, because you have to trust each other. And I also think that it's not, as I said at the beginning, it's not something that's immediately obvious. You grow into it, you learn, you have to be willing to adapt and be willing to change. And so once we got to that level of saying, well, wait a second, this decision doesn't matter, and building up confidence for Christina, it's a different relationships, maybe both have strong opinions, maybe both are softer or thereof. So I tend to have a stronger personality. Christina has a strong personality, but often tends to follow a lead. So in that scenario, she wasn't being empowered due to my poor leadership in that case, empowered to be able to make that decision. and have the confidence that, well, if it doesn't go right, what's the worst? We have a 7-day inspection, we cancel it. So that's something that should have happened much earlier on, but it didn't, and we both grew from that.
And so for the people who are watching, whether they're talking about their spouse as a partner, whether they're talking about a team member that is being empowered to make decisions. For example, in construction, if you have somebody and you have a general contractor and you're constantly micromanaging, he can't do his or her job effectively. Like, how do you determine what is that decision matrix, and how do you empower your teams or one another? For the people who are watching and maybe they're having the same thing, what is kind of a step that they could take, or a way that they could be more aware? And I'm going to put this to you first, Joe, because you just said you're the stronger personality, and many times as entrepreneurs we are a strong personality. We dive in, we get it done, we just are going to do it ourselves because we're going to be the best of the best, and nobody can do it as well as we can. So how, like, for the people who are watching who are in that leadership role, who maybe haven't got that experience, what is the step-by-step process that they can step back and kind of empower their partners or their team to make some of those decisions?
So there's a few things that I would offer. I think a lot of it is about continuing to grow yourself. You know, a lot of times when there's something that's not right, you should first look in the mirror, because it's easier to change yourself than it is to change other people. So what can I do to make it better? Number 2 is, it's easy to hold on, it's hard to let go. It's easy to confront someone and point a finger. It's hard to say, you know, at the end of the day, it probably was my fault, or I could have done more. At the very least, I could have done more. Whether it's communication, whether it's establishing precedents or expectation management in both directions. You know, as a leader, as kind of a stronger personality, you also have to understand sometimes you might say, we should do this or we should go this way. And when someone doesn't follow that path, that doesn't mean that what you said went in one ear and out the other and they didn't try or they didn't care. There's probably more to it than that. And I think that was something that, in our relationship, it would go down a way, and then I realized that it didn't happen the way I thought or I would have done it. But my way doesn't have to be the only way, and that in some ways created a bit of contention. And then later I learned that it was due to communication, or it was due to there was actually a better way, and I just had to kind of grow. And I think that that's, as you said, something critical in entrepreneurs and in growing in general. And then the other one I would say, I'll just repeat it, and that's understanding what is critical and what is not, right? What is critical, what is not. So take the things you're doing over the next 6 months, 12 months, and let's say the next 2 years, and break down 1, 2, 3 in each of those. What are the most important things? How can I delegate some of those? And then 1, 4, 7. So it's the 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 7 model, where you then take the 1 and then the 4, which would be number 1 in the second category, and then the 7, which is the number 1 in the third category, to say, I'll own these things that are most critical but have a range in terms of their time, so I stay connected to the business, and then delegate and or empower the ones underneath that.
Christina, how about you, as the one who we've just heard was not necessarily putting forth at first, and you kind of were the second in command for a little while before you stepped up to the plate. What does this look like for you in empowering others in your team? I mean, you literally go to the site and you make sure that the projects are on time, on point. How are you empowering those decision makers? What does that look like, and how are you able to take control of that situation?
So I'm probably not really the best one at that. So like, if I go to a project, it's a new project, so I will have the vision of what I want to see. So like, if I use a general contractor, I'll just show him step by step. Honestly, sometimes you'll take a marker, it'll literally mark everything on the walls, and that's what it goes. This is what has to happen. And sometimes, like, I'm always people like, oh, it's 2 inches off. That's okay. And then Joe's like, no, it's not okay. And I'm like, it's okay. And then it's 2 inches off, and of course he was right and I was wrong. So I'm try to not really, as long as trades, people who come and work for us, if they on time there and they know exactly what it needs to be, or I'll go over first thing in the morning and say, hey, this is the plan, this is what we're doing. If you have a question, please reach out. And normally I'm very, like, I guess I can't say a control freak, but I am a little bit, because I'll go over in the morning, make sure everybody's there, and then I'll go at the end of the day when everybody left, what actually happened that day. Mm-hmm. Like, did they finish the job? Did we finish what it needs to be finished? So that's how I usually do, I guess.
But you say that's a control freak, but in real estate, time is money, and so you need to make sure that the contractors are doing what they say they do when they say they're going to be doing it, and I mean, they're delivering a service. So in a way, it's not being a control freak, it's just making sure that you're getting what you paid for.
Yeah, it's the schedule, that's the problem. Yeah. Like if you have an electrician going in, and then the plumber has to go, so if the electrician didn't finish something, then the plumber can't go in, or if the plumber, then the tile. So yes, it's you probably have to be control freak in construction, because that's how, otherwise the project, now somebody's scheduled for tomorrow, they're not going to show up because, hey, I'm not ready for you. So now he has another job, so now you have to wait another week. So I guess maybe it's good to be a control freak.
Well, and the other thing I'd say too that's interesting is how you kind of build the relationships with the contractors that are there, because they're not working on only our project, right? I mean, they're working on our project when they're there, but they have other things that they're scheduling. And over time, it's been interesting to see how you have grown from the perspective of holding the accountability, right? And I think in some ways taking a step back from my side, kind of taking a step back and giving that, and also seeing how the confidence build up. I mean, working with your team is so important to see how, like, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and then how can you empower them to grow. And so by, quite frankly, never even really getting involved in the construction aspect of it, seeing how you now have the respect, but also the friendship with them. I'd actually be interested to hear how you kind of have built that over time. But it's so important, because if you don't show it's important to the team that you're leading, they won't treat it as if it's important. At the end of the day, you're paying them for a job, right?
So I think, like, so if I tell them to be there at 7 o'clock, and they say, yes, I'll be there at 7 o'clock, I have to make sure I'm there at 7 o'clock also. If I show up there at 9, then they're like, okay, so she slept for us 2 hours and she shows up late. So I always make sure if I schedule something in them, if it's a holiday, if it's early morning, or something needs to be done and it's late, I will stay with them there until the end of that evening. Say, like, we had something electrician needed to fix. So I was there until he left. He left and I left after him. So I think that's what they respect, because they know if I tell them to be there, I'll be there also.
So you're leading by example. I think that's really, really fantastic. So a couple of takeaways that I'm hearing from you guys, both are lead by example, do what you're going to do, have that personal accountability that you expect of your team, and then I also heard, Joe, communicate. And I heard that from you too, Christina. Communicate clear expectations of our team. So when we have clear expectations and effective, impactful communication on the front end, it's easy for people to be empowered to do all the things and make the little decisions they need to make to have that outcome that you've already clearly articulated in the beginning. And I think that's a piece that most entrepreneurs and executives struggle with. How do I make sure that I'm not micromanaging, but the outcomes are there? But it all comes down to communication and leading by example is what I'm hearing. And so I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, because we've talked a little bit about how do you guys work together? How do you empower each other? How do you empower other people on your team? And I want to ask the next question, because this is a question that comes up in every business. Okay, we are all growth oriented as entrepreneurs. We are high performers. We're the best at everything that we're going to be, and we're always growing. What happens when maybe, Joe, something is pulling you aside in the software business, but Christina needs you in the real estate business? How do you then balance that? Because many people have multiple businesses or invest or do other things. How do you separate your time and make sure that both businesses have your full present attention when needed? Because let's face it, business, you never know. You can have the best laid plans and something is always going to happen. So how are you able to take, and I'm going to say, your skill sets in the tech and software side and apply that to your time management so that you can make sure that what you need to do in both businesses is taken care of?
Yeah, it's definitely can be a challenge. I think one important thing is to recognize when you're actually needed and when you're not. So we talked a little bit earlier about, hey, in some cases you might not actually be needed. You might have just trained your team to depend on you or to insert yourself in places where you really shouldn't be. A lot of times you can hire that out, or you can use some technology to do part of that process so that you don't have to be micromanaging things. But another piece of it is if you have visibility into what's happening in the business and you have gone through it enough times to be able to kind of predict the cycles. So many things in business are cycles and or processes, and or you can take your experience and encode it in some way in a process, in a team member, in a technology, such that you know when you're going to be needed. So, yes, there's going to be reactive things, but you want to try to minimize them. And if you effectively do that, you are inherently going to be focusing your time in the ways and in the areas where you are most valued. But when those things come up, you have to ask yourself, sometimes dropping the ball is okay because you're creating an opportunity for someone else to step up.
I really like that you said that. And before we go to break, how can digitization and technology actually impact you in a way that you're able to let go of some of the tasks so you can focus on what's most important? How do you make that determination?
Well, so there's, I think, people that it comes naturally to. There's people that are naturally process-driven, and then there's people that can take all of that together and apply it in some sort of a technology system. And so you have to have people that you trust and have those different elements together to be able to then go and implement it. And I think for big enterprises, it's typical to go and build something custom because it's so unique, and we do that, right? But it's also important for small businesses to be able to work with someone who's able to identify this is worth that investment and you're going to see an ROI. And by the way, that problem is actually not so unique. Go and get this software, $99 a month or whatever the case may be, and then we'll customize that system and or add in additional key things to your business so that you can get that ROI more quickly and you can do it at a much lower investment.
I think that's really, really key. And we do have to take a brief break. We're going to leave on that note. Don't go anywhere because we're going to dive into automation, how can technology assist us, and so much more after these few messages.
Un equipo de impuestos es clave para cualquier negocio exitoso. En LMS Group, nuestro objetivo es garantizar que nuestros clientes cumplan totalmente con el IRS, así como desarrollar estrategias tributarias que produzcan rentabilidad, sostenibilidad y crecimiento. Cualquier responsabilidad o problema con el IRS que no se atiende de inmediato se convierte en problema grave, como cuentas bancarias congeladas, gravámenes fiscales y el embargo de sus ingresos. De hecho, cuanto más deje desatendido ese problema con IRS, peor se volverá. En LMS Group tenemos la experiencia para abordar y resolver ese problema tributario de manera rápida y efectiva. Llame a nuestros expertos y permita que en LMS Group seamos parte de su éxito.
Would you like to sleep better, fall asleep faster, and wake up feeling rested and have more energy? I'm Marisa Burres with My Battle C, and our company has been producing ES60 for over 30 years, a Nobel Prize winning molecule that was discovered in Rice University in Houston. This molecule is responsible for the longest longevity test ever done in the history. My Battle C products contain ES60, and we have hundreds of testimonials reporting that with only 1 teaspoon a day, it could help with mental clarity, provide more energy, better sleep, and other amazing benefits. It's not too late to fix your sleep and get the energy you need to be more productive. Follow the link below, www.vitales60.com, or contact us at 832-463-1919 and 888-441-1993, and email us at marisa@mybattlec.com.
You probably already know that first impressions are never forgotten. However, did you also know the way you feel about yourself contributes to your quality of life and the opinions of others? Hi, my name is Kristen Gunderson. My mission is to help people by flipping the switch inside their body, which in turn will help them to feel better and do more. In fact, once you feel your best, you will be able to pour into others, keep your cup full, and reach every goal you have set up for yourself, whether it's personal, family, or business related. The way you feel will dictate the way you think and the way you live your life. Feeling your best is necessary to achieve your goals. You deserve to put yourself first. Let me help you flip the switch so you can feel better and do more. Let's talk. I know I can help.
I was recently asked what it means to be a family lawyer. What is family law? Family law is not just about divorce or custody or child support. Family law is about your life. As a family lawyer, I protect your children, your wealth, your future. I don't do this alone. As your attorney, we work as a team to determine your goals and priorities and provide a strategy in an often complex, painful, and confusing time. Whether it's asset protection through pre- or post-marital agreements, or fighting to protect your children, I'm here to help. My team and I bring decades of combined experience to support you and your family in all aspects of family and wealth planning, from estate and legacy planning, to divorce and child custody issues, to representation in complex litigation cases. Take a decisive step. We're here when you're ready. Remember, it's about your life.
Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I am Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, investor, entrepreneur, and business coach. And if you are just tuning in, you're going to want to go to NowMedia.tv under shows and click on Power CEOs, because the first segment was pure gold. We talked about how do we delegate, how do we let go, how do we form a decision matrix with either our partners or our staff, and how do we exist as a married couple owning businesses and working in one of those businesses together. So go ahead and check that out on demand if you are just now tuning in. But we're going to dive right back into the next question, because Joe, you are a tech guru. You have a tech business where you do software integrations for both enterprise business and solutions for small business. That is your forte. Christina, you are in business with Joe, and you're in construction and real estate. And my mind tells me, well, is there a place where software integration and automation can make your life easier? What does that look like for you being married to Joe and integrating in some of that software?
You can use actually automations and software in construction, I mean any real estate. I'm not really that tech savvy, so for me it was a little complicated, but it did help. So we built a little spreadsheet, so he built it for me, of course. And then as we went, it got more extravagant, it starts from very simple thing. So of course it's much easier because I'm sure everyone who knows real estate, what you do, fix and flips, you do lease options, rent homes, whatever you do in real estate, usually is a formula. So for you to find out is that a good deal or not, you have to know the numbers. So of course having that formula on a spreadsheet, you just punch your numbers and it's reverse spits it out. Then you want to track, say I put so many offers today, so many of us so he introduced me to monday.com, I think but I'm oh my goodness, that's Chinese language for me. I can't. I was I don't know how to use this. So it took me a while, but it was of course very easy, because I'm one of those people, even if we didn't got the property, I would still save it because I want to see if my numbers are correct. Maybe 6 months, somebody else who bought it, if they're going to flip that house, I want to know or we are on track or we are just totally wrong. Then we start doing like, oh, let's track the rehab budgets, because that's like the biggest thing. Because if you miss on a budget, then it goes over the budget, something doesn't go right. And of course the invoices, contractors are very bad with invoices, everybody knows that. So we start using a new tool. I'm still learning because that tool is just, I feel it's very complicated. So I'm like telling him what it is, how much it is, and then he's inputting it.
Mm-hmm. But you know, so many especially small business owners, we know we need tech, but we are not tech savvy, and I own that is me. That is the hardest thing for me too, Christina, is to learn a new technology. I am so I wasn't born in an era with technology. I mean, the internet came into being when I was in college. And it was dial-up, so I don't know if y'all are even old enough to remember dial-up, but holy cow, by the time 96% of your page loaded, it was gone and it dropped and you were back to square one. So like I have been very tech averse, and it's taken me a little bit longer to engage in that. And so it's a very common thing that it takes us, we have a learning curve, but once we learn that, and I'm going to pose this question to you, Joe, because you help small business and enterprises with software integration and automation so that it saves them time and money. What is the value of going through that learning curve as a small business owner? You spoke of ROI before the break. What does that actually look like for those of us who are not so tech savvy and do have a learning curve?
Yeah, you know, I think one of the key things is sometimes it can feel as though, well, I have to learn it. I have to do all of it, and it's going to require this huge effort all up front. And by the way, I don't know where to start, right? So what's interesting is that is not how you go about it, right? Instead, the way I would recommend you go about it is find kind of a trusted advisor. Find someone that you can go to say, this is my business. These are the things we're doing well and the things that we're struggling with, because good things can become better and struggles can become better, right? So there's nothing that you shouldn't touch, but you need to be able to understand which of these are the ones that I'm actually going to see a benefit from the investment, and then have it introduced. If the person you're working with isn't able to understand your natural human, right, English words and be able to translate that into a technical solution, and by the way, one that works and is at a cost model that meets your business, then you're probably not working with the right person, because it's their job not just to build something and hand it to you and say goodbye. They need to be the ones who actually do the translation. They are a translator, and they are your advocate and your trusted advisor in technology as well. And a lot of that skill set comes more people than it is technology, because anyone who's ever worked on a technology project, I'll just take enterprise projects as an example. When we're building something, it's got a 200-person team with many different vendors, 7 figures a month is what's being spent. And you have to, the hard part at that point isn't the technology, it's actually working with the people. So making sure that you're engaged with someone who has your best interest in mind and understands how that works, I think, is key. The other thing is then taking those apps, AI, and automation and applying it to your business, not just in the right places, but picking the right ones for your needs today and giving you the option to grow into the future. And understanding who those people are in your organization who can help champion it. So in our company, the one to champion it was me and to teach and to learn, right? But you might have someone in your company, or you might wind up needing to wear that hat, but someone in your company who is wanting to champion it, who's wanting to introduce more, and then you connect them with someone so that they're not making decisions in a vacuum, right? That's one of the benefits that a consultant or an advisor have, is they have a more broad perspective of the industry and can bring things to mind and to light that you might not have been considering, and or help you address a more comprehensive solution for you end to end. I'll give one more example here for a small business instead this time. A business I'm working with helps establish and create business entities for other businesses. And that industry is very hide my prices, very customized, because there's so many legal constraints, et cetera, because they actually happen to be doing it in Dubai, where there's a lot of external investors. And what I'm working with them on is, number one, to help it so that you can kind of buy online, right? And number two, I'm working with them to help streamline their whole business and help them realize that all of these manual processes that in this case they've actually taken a great time to document. In many cases business are not as well run, but this one is, and then understand that you can use technology to streamline that end to end and actually make it easier for your team to focus on the higher level things such as the right solution for the customer and the customer relationship, and empower your team as opposed to make it a barrier or now I have to use this new system type of environment.
Well, that's really interesting because I coach many small businesses, and one of the things that I find when I go into the business and I do kind of an overview of what's happening in here, where are the holes, what are the gaps that need to fill, they all have a lot of technology solutions. None of them communicate with each other, and they do not want to let go because, when somebody starts in business, they don't have a lot of money, so they go with all these free options. And all those free options end up with paid options. And so talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what does that look like when you've got somebody, and you can obviously see we can streamline all this, and we can make this way more effective, efficient, and actually more cost effective as well, because when you streamline everything and you have one system, sometimes it's a lot more cost efficient than a bunch of different systems. Talk to me about what that process might look like, because that's a huge fear that we encounter in the digitization process with small businesses.
I think that oftentimes no one wants to touch it if it works, right? And they also think that doing something new, the resistance to change, which is just human nature, the natural reaction is that there's going to be a negative on the other side of it. Even though you really know there's a positive, you just fear that you're not going to get over that negative. And the other part of it is you might not understand, right? The first reaction is, well, I got all these systems. I'm not an idiot. I got them because I needed them. And there's probably not something else that can do what I need, or it's disconnected, right? So what I have to say is good news. Technology grows over time. And what was available a year ago or 5 years ago is not necessarily what's available today. It's gotten more. The second thing I would say is that connecting those things together is still a model where, like small businesses, you're typically going to buy, in the sense of licensing or subscriptions or whatever, you're probably going to buy 60 to 80% of it now. And if you're not already doing that, you need to kind of question that. That last 20 to 40% is going to be something that doesn't have to be a full customization, a full unique build out for you. It can be an advanced configuration of that system. And maybe it's a matter of not knowing how to bring them together, or the team members that you're working with might not realize how the system can be fully utilized. So it's not always about changing systems. It's not always about replacing or going to greenfield. Sometimes it's about just getting better utilization of what you have and having an unbiased third party who's not kind of stuck in your ways of this is just how we do it, right? Having someone come in as an unbiased third party and say, well, I see what you have, you're under leveraging it, and by the way, you've got a lot of duplicate and overlap. Maybe we can combine them, or we can find a solution that's better suited for your needs today and where you're going.
That's really interesting. And what I have to ask Christina is, did you have input into what automations happened first in your business? Like, was that really scary for you when he's like, wait, hon, we need to do this?
I'm just set my ways. I'm like, was all small businesses that's like, oh, no, I don't need this. I don't want to do this. So, it took a little bit, but I think the minute I learned it, I know. I'm like, oh, yeah, like I can't live without. Honestly, this funniest thing, I used to always use one screen, always. And he always like, oh, you need a second screen. I'm like, no, I don't. And he's like, he kept insisting, and eventually he put a second screen. And now I can't live without.
So it's kind of like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that's the case with almost all of my clients too, when they start the automation or when they streamline their automations in their systems. And so it's kind of really scary in the beginning, Joe. But then once it's done, we're like, wait, why did we wait so long for this? And so I'm really curious, because it's a mindset thing. It truly is. And as a coach, and you're a consultant, like overcoming that fear is essential. They have to let go of that fear in order to even press go and move forward on becoming more effective and more efficient. So tell me a little bit, And I want to hear, Christina, you from the business owner perspective, how you move through the fear to do this. And then I want to hear from Joe, how do you help your clients move through the fear so that they can actually push forward and then actually get their ROI, get the benefit of what it is that you're offering? Go first, Christina.
So like from like the, how to say it, so he will actually offer a couple different options for me, and he will say like, no, try this tool, try this one, and see which one you like. He's like, because I can work on any of them. I know exactly how I can use any of them. For me, they're gonna be all three easy. So then when I pick one, he's like, okay, let's go with this one. So like normally that's how usually he gives it, like lets me know. He's like, try this, try that. And I think even when he actually looks for like a new tool, the funny part is I think when he does research, he actually looks like, do I think my wife is gonna be able to use it? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like this one. He's like, I knew you're not gonna like it. So that's how usually, but it makes life so much easier because like it's things like my spreadsheet, my Monday, my like the co-constructor thing is the tool. I mean, I don't know why we never used them in the past. Because I used to do it old school calculator using them and write it down, and it was like, it's like it takes so much time. Now I can evaluate property for like I don't know, like 5 minutes, maybe even less.
Oh, and the power of being able to evaluate a property and whether, that's more deals that you can put offers on, that's better results and more efficiency. Okay, so Joe, I'm curious your side of this.
Well, it's funny because when she says she kind of gets stuck in her ways, which we all do, the reality is now, I can't say, give me the high level. She's like, no, look at the spreadsheet, right? She insists that I now use it too. So it's actually on some level, I feel accomplished in the sense that she was able to grow into and take advantage of it. And I think a big thing too, she knows this, is that I'm going to be there to support her throughout it. Right? And it's not just because she's my wife. That's just how I do business. And that's why so many companies that I work with and individual customers will just renew and extend and say, okay, now what's next, Joe? Now that I trust and I know you can deliver, what do you think is the next thing? And they're more coming to me saying, what should I try, instead of being so pushed back because I know I've got their back, right? And I know they have their best interest in mind. For me, the results are there when I see that you're getting out of it what you put into it. So an ROI hypothetical example could be something like virtual assistants are very, very prolific right now, right? And it's good, right? Being able to have someone who's in a different economic situation and we can all benefit, mutually beneficial relationship. But it's also worth considering that from a cost perspective, a lot of the work that you will hand to a low-skilled or a low-cost worker is going to be something that's also easy to automate. And if I can do something for $99 a month or $4.99 a month or $8.99 a month once it's been built, compare that to the cost of a virtual assistant that might be a couple $1,000s a month if they are full-time. And even if you can only automate half of their job and it's $4.99 a month, you're still doing it for half of the price. Right.
So it's good at your cost, your unit cost. But, the other thing that comes to mind is if you free up those tasks, those repetitive tasks, because this is something that we see a lot, those low-skill repetitive tasks, those employees, whether they're VA or in-house, they have a high turnover rate. Nobody wants to do that. Push the button, push the button, push the button.
Yes.
It just as human beings, we get bored with that. And so what comes to mind is instead of hiring VAs for those kind of tasks, you automate those tasks and then you hire a higher quality, a higher level VA or a higher level staff member. And so you make more effective and efficient your whole process. And then you eliminate the revolving door of the push the button, push the button, push the button.
Yeah, and I'll add to that as well. This isn't about even getting rid of the team members that you have. The reality is they want to grow. Everybody wants to grow. And if they don't, they probably shouldn't be there to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. But most people want to grow. So by taking that mundane and trivial out, you're giving them a chance to skill up. I mean, look, let's face it, the tractor cost people their jobs in terms of pulling things down, or handling, different types of animals to pull it. So there's plenty of work to go around. And what's interesting is there's a study done that by McKinsey that shows in today's jobs, right, 60% of jobs have at least 30% of their work that can be automated. And if you look at it globally, because not every job is equal, globally, that translates to almost half of the work that we're doing can be automated with technology we have today.
Well, and it's really funny because you said the thing about the tractor. The same fears happened in the Industrial Revolution. Mm-hmm. When they had the Industrial Revolution, everybody was like, no, we can't do production lines. People were so scared they were not going to be employed. But we have, in the United States at least, the lowest unemployment we have ever had. We have the lowest unemployment ever, and we have so much, artificial intelligence, automation, all of these other things. So every time we have that fear, yes, are some jobs maybe redirected? Yes, and it gives us as a human race really as to the opportunity to grow. So I think it's really fascinating the fears that we have, because we started this conversation on fear. The fears that we have are actually the worst case scenario, and 9 times out of 10 they're unfounded. Mm-hmm. And there's actually the better, I know that a lot of times we talk about this on the show, like the best case scenario is what everybody focuses on, and that doesn't always happen either. We need to focus on the most likely, but so many times our fears are the worst case scenario, and the reality is the worst case scenario very rarely happens. It's a standard deviation, just like everything else. So thank you for bringing that up, and I love your example. We are drawing towards the end of our session, so we've talked about a lot. We've talked about software and automation. We've talked about delegation. We've talked about teamwork and communication. What I want to ask each of you is, for our viewers and our listeners, what is one thing that if you gave it to them today, they could actually move forward on? Like, what action do you think would be most powerful? For Joe, I want to know about it in the software and automation standpoint. What is the one thing that anybody, no matter what level they are, can consider moving forward? And then for you, Christina, I'm going to ask about it in the leadership side of things and communication. What is one thing that anybody, no matter where they are in business, can move forward today and can implement? So why don't we let Joe start with the software, automation, and that side of things?
Sure. So I think I'm going to offer more than one, but briefly. So if you're a small business, small, medium business, I think so often I find that many of the needs can be addressed with a project management software, an Asana, a Monday.com, a ClickUp, a so on. And people just don't think of it being a project management problem, but it really is. So consider whether that fits into your business. But more holistically, in terms of that, is going to be find someone that you can trust that is as expert in that space. In the same way you have an attorney, you have a CPA, bookkeepers, find an expert in the technology space in your business or outside of your business, and have them look at how you can strategically leverage this tool that we all need to be leveraging. And to Jen's point just a moment ago about best case, worst case, and most likely, which we need to think about not just what can happen if it goes wrong, but what's the outstanding positive result you could possibly see, because we tend to forget about how good things can be.
Fantastic. And Christina, on leadership, what is it? Leadership, running a job, leading a team. What is one thing that people can immediately implement today?
I think you have to treat people right. That's the main thing. Because if you go there to a job site, to your office, and you just think you're better than anybody else, I don't think that's going to be good leadership. I don't think you're going to go up the ladder as high as you want. So if you have a job as the beginner and you just treat everybody wrong, I don't think you're going to grow. So you always have to be human. Like, just treat people exactly the way you are.
I love it. Be human. Treat people the way you would like to be treated, no matter what level they are, because that's the truth. When we're an entrepreneur, sometimes we're the ones that are cleaning the toilets and taking out the trash. Let's be real. Like, we all have to do all roles, and we are never above any of the roles. And as long as we have that approach, I think we are golden. Thank you so much for that. And so, Christina, if people would like to get in touch with you, if maybe they're interested in real estate, construction, and that, how can they get in touch with you?
They can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. We have a website. They can always reach out to just Christina Irizarry. And if you have any questions, I can answer. As much as I know.
That's jcirealestate.com, correct? Yep. Fantastic. And Joe, if somebody is looking for an outsourced CTO, because that's basically what you're doing with your tech consulting and the automations and systems, how can they reach out to you to learn more about like what systems are out there? What can they do to automate or to get that digital transformation in for their businesses?
Yeah, I mean, my website, carbonsparksoftware.com. It's up here right now. So carbonsparksoftware.com, reach out. We would be happy to have free consultation, free conversation. Our goal is to find out what is your need, what can we do together, and if we're not the right fit and or if there's something where we can just point you and you can go do it on your own, then by all means, we want that because we're interested in a long-term relationship and in providing real value.
Fantastic. It was such a pleasure having both of you in studio today. You have dropped so many gems of wisdom for our viewers and our listeners. And now it's time to talk to you. Yes, you. Christina and Joe both gave us some immediately actionable steps. And you know I stand on this soapbox every single week, every single show. If we're not taking action, we're not actually moving forward. So I encourage you to take action on one thing you heard today, whether it was in the first segment talking about partnership and how to communicate and to set our role delineation up, or it is on the automation and delegation side from a software standpoint. Whatever the action is for you, take action today. Decide today, take action, and let's start moving powerfully forward. Unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, including this television show. But the good news is we'll be here same time, same station next week. And until then, go win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a NowMedia Television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Stop and think. How often do you take the time to set goals? And when you set those goals, how often do you hit them? The problem is the word goal setting. We all have goals, but goals are just wishes. Goals are what we want. What we really need is called result setting. My name is Katrin Becker, and what I do is create tailor-made result plans that ensure people will hit their targets. If you are committed for real results, let's chat and see which program is right for you and your team. Goals are just what we want, but together, results are what we will achieve.
As a critical aspect of your operations, you need the right technology partner to provide you and your business the peace of mind of having reliable and efficient IT systems. In addition, with cyber threats, ransomware at an all-time high, adequate, continuous, and proactive data protection for your business is an absolute must. Hi, this is Roland Parker with Impress Computer Solutions. We are experts in tailored IT solutions and professional 24/7 IT support services. We proactively monitor, maintain, manage, and protect your IT and data assets. Additionally, we have the know-how and horsepower to do the correct procuring of any and all computer systems or software your company may need. Having the correct IT infrastructure and not being able to operate safely and correctly is very expensive and can eventually destroy growth. So take a decisive step and call me today for a complimentary consultation at 281-647-9977 for your unique IT needs.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Gaudet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life.
The tax and bookkeeping team is key to any successful business. At Gunderson's Bookkeeping, our passion is to help small business owners grow, be profitable, and to prosper. We specialize in supporting small to mid-sized business owners who want to hire a full-time or even a part-time bookkeeper, but just do not have the funds. In addition, we free business owners from the tedious tasks of bookkeeping and help them focus on their business operations, their growth, and profitability. Gunderson's Bookkeeping is your business solutions partner offering a broad range of services to meet the needs of our clients. A profitable business needs accurate and reliable books, so take a strong step and call us today for your personal, no-risk consultation.
Hi, my name is Elias Basabe, founder of Little Maria's Cafe restaurant in West Houston, located in 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Here you will find a family-friendly and relaxed environment where you can enjoy a delicious homemade breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We know you need to get to work fast, and we want you to enjoy a tasty, quality, and healthy homemade food. So come and visit us for a great nutritious meal at an affordable price. We specialize in tasty breakfasts, deli sandwiches, fish, even barbecue cookouts. Little Maria's Cafe has it all. We only use the great quality of bird's head meats and products. Just like you, we love to get you up early. Little Maria's Cafe is open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can dine in with us during breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or we can have it ready for you for pickup. Visit us today on the first floor of the CMPC Center at 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Order now at 832-667-8376, Little Maria's Cafe.
I was recently asked what it means to be a family lawyer. What is family law? Family law is not just about divorce or custody or child support. Family law is about your life. As a family lawyer, I protect your children, your wealth, your future. I don't do this alone. As your attorney, we work as a team to determine your goals and priorities and provide a strategy in an often complex, painful, and confusing time. Whether it's asset protection through pre- or post-marital agreements or fighting to protect your children, I'm here to help. My team and I bring decades of combined experience to support you and your family in all aspects of family and wealth planning, from estate and legacy planning to divorce and child custody issues to representation in complex litigation cases. Take a decisive step. We're here when you're ready. Remember, it's about your life.
Seleccionar la cobertura correcta para su automóvil, su casa o su negocio evita costos inesperados porque pueden en minutos destruir el patrimonio que ha construido por años. En LMS Group hacemos el proceso de compra de seguro de manera práctica, sencilla y accesible, asegurándonos que nuestros clientes tengan los mejores precios al comparar presupuestos con una variedad de proveedores de seguros y dándole respuestas a todas sus preguntas antes, durante y después de la compra de su seguro. Si busca seguro de automóvil, de casa o de negocio, LMS es su solución. Tome la mejor decisión y proteja lo que más le importa hoy